This week I decided to research a little bit about the social theory, in specific, the differential association theory founded by a sociologist by the name of Sutherland in 1939. Essentially, what this states is that if a person associates more with a person who holds deviant ideas than with people that hold more conventional ideas, said person is likely to become a deviant. This can range anywhere between learning things from the family to actually associating with people after leaving the household. The book actually gives a pretty decent explanation of this. What counts is the actual idea of deviancy rather than the actual action of it. They display this in the first paragraph of explaining the theory and stating that while it's only the idea of deviancy that counts, that this idea can be put into the head by pretty much anybody. If a father tells his son that it's okay to steal while they're poor, he's putting the idea of deviancy into his head by letting him know that, yes, this is okay, you can do this, but you have to be poor in order to do it, and that's what makes deviancy okay. If a father tells the child that no, it is not okay to steal, no matter what the situation is, then that is the anti-deviant behavior. So social learning theory and differential association actually supports that people do learn from the people that they associate with. Differential association focuses on how a person starts to become a deviant, and while it does support that if there are conventional people that they associate with more often, then there is a lower chance of them becoming deviant. In the second paragraph explaining this theory, they give the example of a lawyer, actually. So it's not, the way to put it is, it's not exactly just associating with these people. The association with deviant people has to exceed that of association of people that hold conventional ideals. With lawyers, they associate with criminals, especially defense lawyers. They are required to associate with criminals, so according to the theory, they would become deviant. That's actually false because in the theory itself, it does say that they have to associate more with the deviant than they do with the conventional. So if they have someone, if their spouse, if their friends have more conventional ideals and they spend more time with them than they do at work, then they're fine. They're not going to become deviant, and it should be all right for them. This kind of makes sense to me, though in my personal life I've seen a couple differences. Growing up, my father told me that it was always all right, and I would never get in trouble with him, especially if someone started a fight with me. If I was okay to strike them back if they threw the first punch. I was never allowed to start a fight, only to finish one. Back then, it was all right. I had an instance where something like that happened. I wasn't in trouble with the school when I explained my situation, and I wasn't in trouble with him when I explained the situation. That was example of anti-deviant behavior back in the 90s. Today, however, with my daughter, I've told her the same thing because I firmly support that she should be able to defend herself. She has gotten into some trouble at school. A bully was picking on her and shoved her, and she threw a punch, and she was in trouble. The school called me and they told me that she was in trouble for fighting with a student. They told me that she had not started the fight, that she was merely defending herself, but they were still going to punish her. So, just from the span of about 20 years, the idea of self-defense has become deviant behavior. They expect them to go to the teacher and have it solved without fists. Unfortunately, some things happen a lot faster than they're able to take. While I do support that, I do want her to be able to defend herself. That's just personal rambling. Now, however, I guess this would be a critique of this theory. It does fall a little bit short with who you're associating with. Instead of more of the quality versus quantity argument. In my life, I actually had to work with a gentleman who was a Afghanistan veteran. He was a combat engineer, and we worked in a small room together about 50 hours a week, every week. Before then, I had fairly conventional ideals. After working with him, I've since developed a very dark sense of humor, and I could be seen more as a deviant than a conventional person. I'm not blaming him. I don't really regret it. But I do see how, just like the quality of people that you interact with and how you see them in your own life, can affect them more than the amount of people that you're dealing with.